Whether you think he's a clairvoyant or a charlatan, he's the most famous fortune teller the world has ever known. Supposedly, if you're a believer, his quatrains predicted everything from World War II to 9/11. But don't let that make you think he's out of terrifying prophecies. Here's 10 Nostradamus predictions that haven't come true yet. Number 10. Zombies. The media is completely saturated with zombies these days. You just can't escape the endless hordes of the undead. But if Nostradamus is to be believed, you could be running away from more than just reruns of zombie strippers. Yes, that is actually a real movie. According to Nostradamus' seminal work, The Centuries, the dead will rise from the grave for the games of slaughter around the millennium, in the year of the 7th number. That could mean it happened in 2007, but probably not because, well, you know, we're very much still alive. It could also mean the 71st century, or maybe Nostradamus just couldn't wait for Season 7 of The Walking Dead. There's really no knowing with this guy. But we do know it's something that governments and scientists actually think about. In 2016, the Center for Disease Control published a pamphlet entitled Preparedness 101 Zombie Pandemic, which outlined the best course of action in a real outbreak. And in 2015, Cornell University epidemiologists determined that should the worst happen, you should definitely head to the mountains of Nevada, where it's likely to remain zombie-free for at least 4 months. Okay, maybe it's just clever PR or bored researchers, but what if they know something we don't? Number 9. 40 years of drought and 40 years of flood. Unlike most of Nostradamus' cryptic passages, this one is actually quite straightforward. According to him, the Earth will experience weather patterns like we've never seen before, and if he's correct about the 40-year timescale, the consequences could be catastrophic. In the worst case of a 40-year dry spell, chances are we would be long dead before the floods came. To put that into context, some species of cactus can live up to 2 years without water, and the imaginatively named Australian water-holding frog can survive for up to 5. And humans? We'll go into a shock after a few days without water. But when is this going to happen? Again, it's anyone's guess, but thanks to global warming, we've already seen the climate take a turn for the worse. Syria is currently facing its worst drought for 900 years, happening on and off for 2 decades. It's caused over 7 million people to flee from their homes to survive. Likewise, some of North America faces a 98% chance of so-called mega-droughts between 2050 and 2099. Even so, 40 years without rain is a stretch, but true or not, this is a prediction we could learn from. Number 8. World Peace. Briefly, Nostradamus was known for his pessimistic prophecies, but you can't say he was all doom and gloom, just most of the time. One of his earlier writings, Century 1 Quatrain 63, predicted a briefly utopian world where people are more connected, disease disappears, and technology allows safe travel over land, sea, and air. That's before it all goes to hell again. Only a momentary lapse, it seems. But looking at the data, it doesn't seem like we're heading in the right direction for world peace. According to the 2017 Global Peace Index study, global peacefulness has dropped by 2.14% between 2008 and 2017, driven mostly by the 2008 global financial crisis. More recently, between 2016 and 2017, the number of countries experiencing record numbers of terrorist attacks jumped to 23, including Denmark, Sweden, Turkey, and Nostradamus' home of France. But on the plus side, the overall peace index score rose by a whopping 0.23% in 2017. Most of that is down to decreasing war efforts in Afghanistan. On top of that, disease-based deaths are falling, and we will reach the lowest projected worldwide death rate of 8.1 per thousand by 2025. As for actual world peace, we're a long way off. But I like your optimism, Nostradamus. It'd be nice to see it more often. Number 7. War between Persia and Macedonia. Keen-eyed viewers in the audience will probably notice some problems here. Firstly, Persia doesn't actually exist anymore. The last possible thing we could call the Persian Empire would be the Qajar dynasty, which ended in 1925, so let's just call it Iran. And secondly, Macedonia is a really vague term. I mean, it's specific for Nostradamus, but still really vague. It could be the Republic of Macedonia, which was formed out of former Yugoslavia, but it's much more likely to be the Macedonian region of Greece. And judging by current international relations, there's not much chance of a war between Iran and Greece anytime soon. Both countries share pretty damn friendly bilateral relations. They have a shared historical past dating back to at least the first millennia BC, and their current governments have made deals on transport, agriculture, and tourism. There has been a long-term worry over Iran's nuclear capacity due to the country's 18-year stockpiling against UN Convention. But after an agreement was reached in 2015 to slash its nuclear armament to the bone, it's less of a worry than in the last few decades. Looking at the facts, it would really take something special for an event like this to happen anytime soon. Number 6. Catastrophic earthquake. Occasionally, Nostradamus' prophecies get picked up in the mass media, but that normally means it fell flat on its face. In one such case, a now defunct YouTube user by the name of Ditranium Media claimed that he had been contacted by a spirit that told him California would be hit by a catastrophic earthquake on the 28th of May 2015. He was supposedly told it would measure 9.8 on the Richter scale. That's 0.3 higher than the largest ever recorded, which hit Chile in 1960. The prediction was based on this quatrain, but since the destruction of California cities didn't make global headlines, you already know it was way off. Okay, so that prediction was wrong, but that doesn't mean it can't happen another time, right? Some Nostradamus devotees have claimed that the prediction carried over into 2017. Well, going by the data, there's nothing to suggest we're at any more risk of that kind of seismic event than we've ever been. Studies show that the frequency has stayed largely the same, sitting at around 15 earthquakes per year at magnitude 7 or greater, and the occurrences of particularly major events seems to be coincidental at best. Number 5. A weakened West. Far from zombies, natural disasters and cataclysmic events, you can interpret the words of Nostradamus in terms of geopolitics and economics. It's not exactly apocalypse prophecies, but hey, we've got to squeeze the facts in somewhere. Now, it's widely thought that China is the next world superpower. Sorry, Americans. And looking back at the works of Nostradamus, this quatrain seems to suggest that after the setbacks of the Civil War and the Great Famine, China is ready to reach the top. But it hasn't happened just yet. The US is still $7 trillion ahead of China's $11 trillion economy, and the average American produces 3 times the world average economic output. However, as lower class living standards in China improve, it's only a matter of time until China eclipses the US as a world power, given the quickly advancing population of nearly 1.4 billion. What this leads to is anyone's guess, but if this list has taught you anything so far, it's that it's probably not worth interpreting Nostradamus unless you want a bleak answer. Number 4. World War III. Interpreting the centuries to predict World War III is a fan favourite for his believers, which makes sense considering it would probably kill more people than any war in history. But as ever, the predictions change with the times and tend to jump forward when the date passes. In a 1981 documentary narrated by none other than Orson Welles, it was claimed that the war would start in 1994 and would continue at least past July 1999. But we know that that never happened. More recently, 2002 was cited as the start of the next World War, after 57 peaceful years since World War II ended in 1945, but the world is still doing its thing, so I think we can rule that one out. One of the most recent predictions came from self-styled clairvoyant and messenger of God Horacio Villegas, who claimed that the war would begin on the 13th of May 2017 as a result of attacks on Syria. That's 3 strikes so far. I would say we should just cut our losses there, but that's not really how prophecies work. Number 3. Mabus. Mabus is hands down one of the most popular figures in Nostradamus mythology, but as you can probably guess by now, it's because he is said to herald the end of the world. Dick move, Mabus. According to the centuries, Mabus's death will cause a massive rout, vengeance, and a comet run. Whatever that means. You should know this guy's vague by now. Speaking of vague, it all sounds very ominous, but what does it mean? Many believers in Nostradamus' prophecies have concluded that Mabus is the third Antichrist, but there is no reference to any connection in the source material. Nonetheless, people have tried to attach the Mabus name to an ever-updating and debunked list of world leaders who either haven't died in office or didn't spark the apocalypse when they did. Using pretty tortured anagrammatical links, accusations have included Barack Obama, Saddam Hussein, George Bush, and Osama bin Laden. Oh, and there's former US Navy Secretary Ray Mabus. Another suggestion was that Nostradamus was talking about contemporary Flemish painter Jan Mabus. But unless we're in the Matrix right now, I'm pretty sure the world didn't end in 1532. Number 2. The Antichrist. Just like Mabus, the Antichrist comes up a lot in Nostradamus circles. The belief is that there will be 3 Antichrist figures, each of whom is a powerful and persuasive man that does great harm to the world. Interpreters have concluded that the first of them was Napoleon, based on prophecies of Europe trembling and several cryptic references to towns in southern France. After that came Hitler, and it's not hard to see why. Nostradamus claimed a poor child of Europe would seduce a great troop with his tongue, which believers have attributed to the leader of the Third Reich. Fast forward to Antichrist 3, and the jury's out. Normally, people will point fingers at political lightning rods, so it's no surprise that Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama have been recent favourites. Right now, it's President Trump. Divisive figure that he is, internet commentators have pointed towards the controversies of his office and a tumultuous global climate as evidence of him being the biblical beast. The New York Daily News even claimed as much on their front page, but that was because of his spat with the Pope rather than any prophecies. Number 1. The End Times. So you might have noticed a pattern here. All of the last 3 prophecies have been somewhat apocalyptic, so how about we just cut out the middleman and finish on the actual Armageddon? Believers and interpreters of Nostradamus' predictions have used current affairs to make claims with increasing frequency about the end times. Before the millennium, rumours circulated based on the prediction that a great king of terror would arrive in the 7th month of 1999 and reanimate the king of the Mongols. But I don't see Genghis Khan anywhere. Then came 2012. Yeah, that old chestnut. There is no real link from Nostradamus' own writings to the supposed Mayan apocalypse that never was, but this quatrain was used as an extra cryptic sign. I'm not sure about you, but I'm pretty sure a cataclysmic asteroid strike is a little bit more than a change of fortune. Still on the chopping block is the year 3797, which Nostradamus himself stated as the end point for his predictions. This could mean the end of everything, but then again, maybe the man was done with predictions. He did write over 1,000 of them after all. That was 10 Nostradamus predictions that haven't come true yet. Do you think any of them are going to happen? Let us know in the comments and be sure to like and subscribe. And while you're at it, be sure to check out this great all-time 10s video.